Here's a Royal 1940 Quiet Deluxe typewriter, and I was asked a question about a bell not ringing on one of these typewriters. Well, one of the first things you want to check is the stop here. It's actually on the right hand side. I got the typewriter turned around, and to move it so that it's not real tight against the end. Not that the bell shouldn't work that way, but just move it a little further for this to troubleshoot it. Okay, now we're having the typewriter. It's setting down like it normally should, and when I press on the margin release here, not the margin release, but the carriage release, raises up this bar, and as it's going past this, it trips the bell mechanism. So you can see it's a real tight tolerance for it to trip the bell mechanism. If this thing is too high up, then it's going to not be in the right position, or if there's a problem with the mechanisms itself not being in the right position. Sometimes that can be due to like the bell mechanism over time could get dirty, and as it gets more and more dirty, it doesn't want to be free swinging, and so when the margin stop mechanism goes past it, if this isn't free swinging, then the bell isn't going to ring. It has to be free swinging. Now, in order to make it that way, if you take a look and it's actually hitting it, that it is going and hitting the bell mechanism, but it's just not ringing. You can take, your some kind of pin or pointer and move it back and forth and see if you can make it ring that way. So I have here this dental tool, and I can reach in there and it flicks back and it moves real easy. Now, if it wasn't flicking back and moving real easy, then what I would look at doing is getting some denatured alcohol. It's a nice cleaning solvent. You want to be sure you don't get it on the painted surface, because sometimes it can harm the painted surface. So you want to use it very sparingly, like with an eyedropper, and drop it onto. Before you do that, you can put a paper towel underneath, and you want to be somewhere on something that you don't want to be on a piece of furniture or something, a tabletop. You want to be on somewhere that if the denatured alcohol gets on the board or the table, it won't hurt the table. But I also put paper towels underneath it just to absorb the excess. So I would take a eyedropper and drop it in there, and as in between putting drops on there, I would take some kind of tool and flick it and see if I can kind of work that whole mechanism. You keep working it and keep on putting drops of denatured alcohol. You don't want to use rubbing alcohol, really, because rubbing alcohol has an oil in it. And right now we don't want any oil in there at all. All we want is it free of any dirt or gum. And so as you work it, and in between add drops, it'll work away any of the dirt or dust that is collected in there. Now you do this when you see that the mechanism does move it, it does touch it, it just doesn't flick back like it's supposed to. Now there is a spring in there too that should be connected, that you can kind of make it out there, that spring right there. It'd be right in there. A spring right there that you can, that pulls back on it. So you want to be sure that spring is there and that it's connected also. So those are the things I would check right off the bat. We'll go over them one more time. When you move the margin over so it isn't so close to the end, then you check to see that the margin mechanism pushes against the bell mechanism, and that the spring is connected and it is hitting the mechanism. If it's not hitting the mechanism, then either the margin mechanism is not in the right position or the bell mechanism is. I would look at the margin mechanism not hanging down right. Maybe it got bent, and so it's not, before I'd start fooling with the bell one, because the bell is pretty set. So chances are, if it is hitting it and pushing on it, it's just not coming back hard. Could be the spring got disconnected, or it could be a lot of dust in the bell mechanism right where they come in contact with each other, and it's not allowing it to flick back hard like it should. And this is just another view of that bell mechanism down below, that it needs to be flinking hard against it. And this is a light sounding bell too, so it doesn't take much for it to it's light sounding already, so it only takes a little bit of being out of alignment, the spring missing, to cause it to not to ring. But even down on this side, you could put some, again, use it very sparingly, denatured alcohol, but not rubbing alcohol. You know, it's like about 97% alcohol. Works as a good solvent. But just be aware that you don't want to get it on, you only want it where you're trying to loosen up that joint that's there. This is the underside of the bell mechanism, and gives you another view. There's another view on how this mechanism works. The nice thing about manual typewriters is that it's all pure mechanics. You know, the old knee bone connected to the hip bone. It's all manual. It's all, you're pressing something and something else gets pressed and something else moves. And so that makes it kind of easier to track down versus if it was an electrical typewriter. you just follow the mechanism and see that it's moving smoothly and that it isn't gummed up with dust and dirt from over time. You know, this typewriter here, 1940-ish, so you're looking at 60 plus years old. Some are kept better than others. So thank you for watching this video.